Welcome back, everybody. This is Brain Power, episode 17. I'm Bowen Belmer, and joining me today is Rene Bernard from Morpheus Asia. Super excited about this episode. I know I say that every week, but it's honestly true. I'm honestly really excited, like every single week, for all the guests that we're talking to. Everyone's working on really awesome, interesting stuff. But this one in particular is talking about the Morpheus Asia subnet and the broader community in Asia that's building within the Morpheus ecosystem. Rene is one of the leads over there within the subnet. He has a ton of really interesting insight, especially from the perspective that most of our audience likely has, being based in the United States. We're not always seeing, what's going on boots on the ground in Southeast Asia. So very excited for you to hear this one. While you're listening to me do this intro, if you're enjoying Brain Power, please like and subscribe to the channel and also consider staking to our Builder subnet. Okay, I promise I'm done with the ads. Without further ado, here is Rene Bernard and Morpheus Asia.
I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
You're listening to Brain Power.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Brain Power episode 17, and I am really excited this week because we have our first international episode. So joining us today is Rene Bernard of Morpheus Asia.
Yay.
Rene, how you doing?
Good morning, good evening. Well, that's the time difference issue, so never know what to say. People keep saying GM.
That's right, yeah. Correct, yeah. And I was going to say it is very late my time. It is very early your time, but we figured out a way to make it work, which is a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I've been talking about doing this one for a little while because, one, you're on the other side of the world, so it's amazing that there is Morpheus community on the other side of the world from where a lot of us are sitting. And two, I personally, and I know others as well, believe that Asia and Southeast Asia in particular is potentially one of the best geographical places on Earth for something like Morpheus to grow and to have impact locally. And so I guess the first thing I wanted to start with, Rene, is can you give me a background or our listeners a background on who you are and kind of how you ended up here?
Sure. Okay. So I try to keep it short because the life story of us people in crypto and tech is often very interesting and long one. But so I'm a German who ended up in Malaysia. One of the reasons is that Singapore was too expensive. When I started startup business and I came from Europe from doing e-commerce and then coming to cybersecurity consultancy, I tried to set up food in Southeast Asia, as you said, to leverage on the emerging markets over here. But I found out that Singapore, in more than 10 years ago, it was just at that time already very expensive to have an office, to have staff and a team, and to start Asia operations from there. As a little guy, it's virtually impossible. So then I got into contact and got friends with from the neighboring country, Malaysia. That's where I ended up because they said, "Hey, Rene, why don't you explore Malaysia? That could be a good option for you." So I went here doing my, around 10 years ago, the cybersecurity advisory boutique business like that one. And then that was even the time when I started to dabble into crypto, got into the ecosystem, made friends over here and in general all over Asia and still back in Europe, right? That's where I'm from. So and then we did some blockchain community projects. I was involved in the blockchain called NEM blockchain, which was between 2015 and 2018-19 quite popular, even made it into the top 10 in CoinMarketCap. And before there was a huge hack at one of the exchanges and it got too much bad publicity. So the project is not really active anymore. However, NEM project, like community-based, and then I started a startup business in Malaysia with two co-founders, one Malaysian, one US American, and myself. And we are right now in 2025 selling that startup business, which uses blockchain technology for industrial applications. And I think it was early last year when my US friend, Jeff, the co-founder of the Malaysian business, he told me, "Hey, Rene, it's time to look into another next big community project. Open the following website, mor.org. Mm-hmm. So I started reading, looked at it, checked in and out with Jeff on that one and found other friends in the ecosystem. And I can go further. Maybe to conclude my intro, I then met with the gang of core contributors to Morpheus in Singapore at an event in third quarter of 2024 to discuss establishing a Morpheus Asia subcommunity, right? Because there's not much happening and it's not famous over here in Asia yet. So then I discussed that. Why not to step up once again to build a community and to network around and really build cool stuff using that tech over here. And that laid the groundwork for starting to register as a Morpheus subnet called Morpheus Asia, where we are building as a builder subnet. And what is it we are building? Well, we are building the presence of Morpheus in Asia. And we can talk more about what we're doing and how we're doing the things, but that's where I am right now. At the side, I'm dabbling in DeFi and crypto and blockchain and AI and still working on my startup exit right now, right? These things.
That's awesome. That's an incredible background, Rene. Thank you for sharing that. And I always like hearing when, like, the kind of the first year that somebody got involved in blockchain and crypto was. So it sounds like it was around 2014 in your case. So 2015 rather. So class of 2015, which is a decade now, which in blockchain terms is, basically 100 years. So you're an OG essentially, almost. There's some who have been around a little longer. No, hey, I'm only 2 years behind you. So I guess in that regard, similarly. No, okay, so you actually answered sort of the next question I was going to ask you, which is basically what is Morpheus Asia? And so I'm going to reframe it a little bit just to dive a little bit deeper, peel back the layers. What are the main goals for Morpheus Asia? Like what is it really setting out to do at this time?
Yes. So when we met in Singapore to discuss the idea of an Asian community, a Morpheus Asia, there was a very clear understanding that it is about metrics on all the front lines, which is the builders, the users, the compute power, and the Morpheus core team does track these metrics and see whether there is growth, like in contributions to the GitHub. All these contributions are measurable, right? Or stakings and all these things. So the objective is to build significant metrics contribution in all the pillars or the buckets, maybe it's even the lingo of Morpheus, right? Which contribute to the Morpheus project. And that starts on the ground with having people to know about the project, use it, support it, spread the word until one day it gets hopefully viral enough that they even promote it further. But at this moment, the objective is to create a footprint in the significant Asian countries. And we are mapping country by country where to go first, because we can't do all at the same time. But then to go and do events, spread the word, build a network of ambassadors in the different countries so that we can support the growth of the network. Because as you know, and I know, this community project lives from ongoing community support and expansion and growth. If there was a decline in interest in Morpheus, a decline in usage, and then we failed, right?
Sure.
So we are working towards the success.
Can you talk about, Rene, what some of those countries are? Obviously, we've mentioned Malaysia so far. What other countries is the community looking to grow in?
Yes. Okay. So on our main agenda right now is India, China, Singapore, Vietnam, and Thailand. That's the first we are looking at. And the efforts for India, China, and Hong Kong are quite progressed already, where we identified teams to work with and events to participate at. So it's quite progressed already. For Thailand and Vietnam, we are now in the phase of discussions, online calls, meetings, right, to get the right local teams in place. Well, and Singapore is like the neighboring, loving brother country of Malaysia, where we already have good friends, and they are actually asking, what can I do for Morpheus, right? And so it's, that's already happening. But what is my plan now in the next 2-3 months to produce is really a a roadmap in the real sense of a map, right? We want to map Asia and then put a roadmap, which country, what, by when, and even set targets and objectives, maybe even with the metrics. How many contributors, how many builders do we want to get? So that's something what we're working on. Recently, I hired the first full-timer under Morpheus Asia, of course, fully paid in Morpheus tokens with a
Nice.
USD equivalent fixed salary. But so out of our emissions, which we as a builder subnet are getting, we can pay a full-timer contributor to work on this business development. Because it's actually business development, even though it's a community job, but it's still doing somewhat business, right? So that's we are onboarding that person these weeks to produce good outcomes in the next weeks or next 2-3 months. Otherwise, it's just like part-time contributors and my other colleagues are working on it.
Well, that's fantastic. Let me know, I guess, when they officially start. I'd love to meet them and see if there's anything I can do or Brainpower can do to help support. So I have a question, and it's going to be hard for you to answer, especially because you're delving into multiple different countries. Like, I think that this question would be easier for me to answer just because I'd only be speaking, I guess, on behalf of the United States. But I'm very curious, and I imagine the community is too, around what the attitude of the people are in these countries around AI and crypto. Because, for example, part of the reason I'm asking, one, as standalone, subsections of technology, but in the US, it's sort of an uphill battle because traditionally the AI crowd has not been a huge fan of crypto and of the idea of digital money, and now they're like a unstoppable force and an immovable object running into each other, which is where we get DAI. And I'm curious, like, what is the environment like around these things in Asia?
Okay, understood. And it is a question which I have an answer to, so it's not that hard, I hope, whereby the intersection of AI and blockchain makes sense once people understand the meaning of DAI or private or personal AI and the need for it. I want to explain on that. The point is that when we explain why we would need an antidote to the corporate overlordship of the clouds and open AIs and these ones, especially when looking at smart agents doing stuff for you, handling your money, your emails, moving your mouse on your computer, would you want to give that to them? So people understand, can follow. When we continue explaining, then wouldn't you want to have this one run in a secure environment, possibly even created with the human as the beneficiary of this one and not the shareholder of a corporate, right? So it's not about harvesting data like Gmail, but it's more like your personal, you are the beneficiary of it. So people get it. And then when we explain about community-driven and open source project, even then they would understand the problem of incentivization of contribution. Why would one contribute to these projects? And then comes this new world of tokens, tokenomics, Web3, Internet of Value, which can be handled and accounted for by smart contracts. And powered by, for example, like Morpheus Fair token launch or capital contributions, smart contracts, which handles these affairs of capital contribution, distribution, and even use by staking and not use by payment. Very genius models. And people actually do get it when we explain it. But we need to come from that side of a problem. Problem is this not to do corporate AI, but keep it under control, go open source, community driven. Problem is how to incentivize. Tokens, blockchain, smart contract, that's the connection. That one they get. But otherwise for using let's say, blockchain tokens as payment or like cryptocurrencies, if we tell them let's combine cryptocurrencies and AI, not so clear, right? That's not so clear. We come from that side of accounting for contribution remuneration. That's the side. And in general, there is quite a good understanding and adoption of cryptocurrencies. It's still fringe, right? It is still not mainstream, but there is a good understanding. And obviously, AI is very hyped right now. There is even in Malaysia is a national AI office, which I frequent and talk to people there who are setting the direction of the country. They have, even the government has FOMO, right? So they're setting up an office and plan what to do. And the one who has deeper pockets and bigger, brings bigger checks to build a new data center or to finance something, the large big companies, they partner with this national AI office, and then comes little Morpheus and says, hey, there's another path. So I'm nagging even at them, but to say people understand AI, and some of them understand the problem, and then I link it to blockchain and crypto.
Well, I'm glad that's a great answer. And I'm glad that you mentioned the governments and regulators, actually, because that is something I also wanted to kind of touch into is what is the attitude that, as far as you can tell, in terms of the governments and regulators? Like, do you think that DAI will have more of an uphill battle out by you than they will by us? Which, by the way, from the American perspective, our uphill battle seems to be, I would refer to it as at a pause momentarily. I do not think that this is over by any means. And I think that it's only just begun in terms of as these systems develop, as these AI agents become more powerful, people who want central control, as they realize like the implications of not having central control, I think that the grips are going to get tighter. And so we have like this moment in the US to kind of take a deep breath where the regulatory environment has improved substantially relative to where it was a year ago. I'm not convinced that we're, out of the woods completely. So how would you describe the environment out in Southeast Asia?
Okay, that's a good question. Let me think a moment how to best tackle this. There is the point of the problem statement, which in US, I understand the pre-Trump time, even the Morpheus project had another unique selling proposition, right, than it does now, because things needed to be somewhat underground or secured like that. But still, the other problem remains, even in US, and same over here, about the data controls when you use these corporate solutions for inference and any AI services. Even OpenAI's beloved Sam Altman shared a few days ago that, guys, everybody out there in the world, please be careful what information you share with ChatGPT, because when we get a subpoena on you, we would provide your requests and answers, right? And that problem still remains the same even in US right now. That's not gone away. But I think it's a very similar situation over here to the now US. Like it's quite okay, right? Quite okay. We need to tell the problem as what it is. It's now the data controls privacy and keeping control over your stuff. But otherwise, in general, like regulatory matters over here for crypto is one side and AI is another side, right? They don't have a connection at this moment. And the crypto regulations are rather fragmented all over Asia. Some countries have an outright ban. Other countries consider it as a security. Others as a commodity, others as a currency-like instrument. But then there are investor protections, and when you are a crypto blockchain project and going out to tell people, buy my token, you can earn 10% per year, we pay out every weekend. For example, if you do like that, you would be regulated. You need to register with the securities commissions, right? So you can't do that. And that is something what we are right now doing, even legal analysis, because for what we are doing with the incentivization of contributions to community projects with tokens accounted for by smart contracts. But in the end, it is actually a reward you are getting for something. And the staking rewards, if you restake your staked Ether and get Morpheus tokens, with somewhat like a promise of these tokens coming to you. If you do this, we, the smart contract system, promises you to get something. Is that legally subject to fundraising with promises of returns? So that's something where we even now have an Indian team of lawyers working on analyzing these things, and so that's where the money goes from the Morpheus emissions towards Morpheus Asia, even into the fragmented legal systems in the countries, because at the place where Morpheus is, we need to still be careful, even though it is a decentralized project and no central founders. Who to sue, you could say? Well, who to sue? Me, because I am the one representing. So that's I need to even be sure about that. So the countries are different, but mainly it's about cryptocurrency regulation and fundraising matters and promises to the public. For the AI side, again, it's like not much of regulation there, maybe similar like in US, right? It's a race happening. And over here, we have this race even on the chip wars, right? And producing. Was even in the news, sorry, Ben, I just want to finish this thought. It was in the news that there was some Chinese model creators, like AI model creators, carried hard drives and USB drives carried to Malaysia to train their models over here because of shortage of chips in China. So they somehow, there was between China and Malaysia, there's even a transport of data in suitcases in airplanes happening for doing processing in another country, fly back, and a very interesting race to the better model and who has the chips right now.
Yeah, the sharing of information wars. War is non-violent, hopefully. But yeah, the sharing of information that happens like this is going to be very interesting over the next handful of decades, or probably just decade. A point I want to make on this is I actually have a perspective on this. So I am very much a maximalist of freedom technology for the individual user. To me, my priority is like, how do I give the individual user the most liberty and freedom of their own money, data, sovereignty, speech, whatever that looks like. But I actually do think that Morpheus has a really good value proposition for government entities as well, especially if you're somebody like a Malaysia who has resources but not enough to compete with like a China and the United States in developing artificial intelligence. For example, if the best AI does end up coming out of the United States or does end up coming out of China in terms of and their centralized products, it could be a matter of government like defense and government security to not be using these tools where they're being actively monitored by these other countries. Like if I'm the Malaysian government and I'm using, my military special operations, whatever that is, I don't want my intelligence going through these AI agents that the US actually hosts the inference for or China hosts the inference for. So instead, you can use agents that are built on a decentralized compute network like Morpheus, and now all of the data only lives locally where you want it to live, and it's being done in a way that's private. So privacy works both ways. So I make the argument a lot that people talk now about like strategic Bitcoin reserves, and some people start talking about strategic Ethereum reserves so that you have access to gas fees for decentralized applications. I'm still a huge proponent of the strategic inference reserve, which could be achieved by having enough more tokens staked that you always have access to agent compute. And I think it'll become a matter of national security for these centralized or for these other countries, hopefully for the US as well. But that would be my argument. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
So to this one, great. I support this one. Great, good idea. But the point is, if you ever work with government entities, they have public tenders. You need to participate as a company, right, with some track record and paid up share capital and all these things. Then offer your price for things. It's not that the government can buy Morpheus tokens and stake them towards a community project. Firstly, that's not their procedure. And the other one is even who is the contract partner, who's providing the SLA, and what's the uptime of the system, and who to call if it doesn't work, and all these things. So I think that one, we are rather far from it.
Okay.
To work in that sense with governments. And as I've seen, countries in Europe or even in Asia are the same on that one. They can't go onto a model to buy tokens, stake them to get inference. I don't think that would happen in the next 2 years.
And I guess I don't know exactly how government contracting works out that way, but like in the States, you can have private companies bid on government contracts. So there are scenarios where a contract will go live. The government says, there's a famous movie about this called War Dogs. I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's with Jonah Hill, I think it's Miles Teller. They're gun runners, basically. But the idea, though, is the United States government will post a contract and private companies can bid on that contract. And if they win it, they can fulfill that obligation. So theoretically, I do agree with you that it's unlikely that there will be a government agency that would do something like buy more tokens and stake them. But a private company could guarantee the U.S. government access to private inference by doing it as a private entity and then providing that as a service. And like that, I think is... If no one else does it, maybe I'll do it. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to be the one, but I hope someone does it.
Yes, possible. But I can tell you in this regards, I just had a very good meeting a few days ago with one company doing document work using AI, right? And for example, in the legal field, doing like helping law firms to process the legal documents of their clients and even the code of law and case law, ingest all this one, and then can talk to documents, all this one. Nothing groundbreaking, but it's a meaningful solution. And we could, I would foresee a world where Morpheus and AI in general helps the private entities keep an edge over the government side. For example, if you had a criminal case litigation where you have the government side, prosecutor side against a defendant with a law firm behind, now the law firm can rather easily use these new technologies and all this stuff. The government cannot so easily do all that. So the technologies now give a bit of an upside to the individuals in the countries, which that helps your objective and your agenda, freedom, individual, sovereignty, which you stand for.
Yeah,
right?
well, this is a use case I haven't thought of yet. You're right, because and we see this with websites in the U.S. Go look at a government website in the United States. Half of them haven't been updated since the internet came out. I mean, they're terrible. And it's because the speed to adoption is so slow because all of the bureaucratic red tape to adopt something. But if I'm a private entity and I can adopt the technology faster, this would be like the wheel being invented and private citizens have access to it before the government does. That's very interesting. I've never thought of that perspective. Oh, I really like that. Okay, so I have a couple more things I want to cover before we get out of here. So
Yes.
Anybody who's been paying attention to Morpheus has likely seen the pretty large hackathons that you guys have been a part of already this year. Can you just speak to that a little bit? What were those all about, and what's that going to kind of look like in the future?
Yeah, and in between hackathons, because next one coming up in October with a government agency, actually, they want to stay up to speed, and they met me at one of the other events and Mr. Rene, we want. Okay, but not now, maybe later. And so they are queuing up to do hackathons with us on DAI. So but the recent ones we had I think we can call it Pan University. Like it's the two biggest universities with their technology and AI sector faculties. They collaborated on a hackathon where we had I think around 400 participants working on AI solutions with some given problem statements. To be honest, I would have liked a more open approach, not to give 6 problem statements they should choose and work on, but the organizer, the main facilitator had this idea, and who am I to go against that too much? We were the gold sponsor or something. We paid a prize money out of Morpheus Asia budget, and we mentored and supported the teams like that, and we encouraged them to use Morpheus solutions, and still now are handholding to onboard their projects. So it is more like an awareness and a support and then brings, like I said now, the other, like one government agency now wants to do a supporting the young entrepreneurs in Malaysia and wants to do hackathon with us. So that's what's the outcome of such events, to have people reaching out, have visibility. Yeah, community building, that's it. So hackathons like that. And before that, in June, we had a DAI Day in conjunction with the Singaporean Super AI event. In Singapore was a 2 days event. We in Malaysia had a half day, or we call it 1 day or half day event, where we called it the DAI, Super DAI Day. And that one was held at the university campus. We booked a hall there and a food and beverage area and a meeting room, like a section of the university. And we even had the big pleasure to have good friends from North America, Morpheus team, come over, right? It was like a handful of them coming here. And
I was very jealous. I really wish I could have made it out. I was very jealous. It looked fantastic.
Yes. But I can tell you they sweated in the literal sense, because over here we have a high humidity and 32, 33 degrees Celsius. I know it's 90 plus degrees, I think, in Fahrenheit, and very humid weather. So once you step out of the air-conditioned room, you sweat. But okay, never mind. We had a good success, and even the academia now has us in focus and is talking to us. It's a bit overwhelming. Like, I have students reaching out to me. I need help with this. I need that. And yeah, I can't just put them into Discord. But I can't attend to them directly. So I'm a bit struggling now in nurturing the contacts we opened, and that's why we are now having the full-timer start on 1st of August, and right now already onboarding. He's actually shifting from part-time or internship with Morpheus Asia into full-time now.
Nice.
So yeah, so I need that help to do the follow-ups.
That's fantastic. So last question, Rene. As we look into the future, I'm not going to make you look too far into the future because it's really hard to predict. And you kind of covered, hey, like the literal roadmap in terms of geography, and then also the roadmap of the organization are in the works and being developed. So let's just go like 5 months into the future towards year end, because we're a little over halfway through 2025. What does a successful Morpheus Asia at the year end 2025 look like?
Okay, I want to have teams of ambassadors working actively in at least 3 countries in total here in Asia to do work on their own without only the hand holding and we say, hey, go do this, do that. No, they need to understand and do ambassador work, right? So I want to have 3 countries active, kind of standing on their own feet, but still collaborating, networking internationally. But that's the plan, and I think that I will have India, Hong Kong, and then either Vietnam or China. That's the main focus right now to get that rolling.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for jumping on today. Again, I know it's very early your time, and so I appreciate the flexibility with the schedule. Yeah, I mean, I personally cannot wait to see how things develop with Morpheus Asia. I know the community is really paying attention to it as well, and it's really exciting. And everyone stateside in the United States is trying to and happy to do anything we can to further support everything going on by you guys. So from Brainpower's perspective, we will definitely be having you and other members of the community back on to keep regular updates as to what's going on in Asia. So thank you again for joining us, Rene.
Wait, I have a question to you.
Oh, yes.
Because I had a very nice event last week where I was a panel moderator and I asked people the question there. I now want to ask you the same one. When AGI and when ASI?
To me, those things kind of happen a little bit in tandem, because I think as the exponential growth occurs, it'll be like a blink of an eye. You know, we'll have AGI, and then before we know it, a week later, we'll have super intelligence that has officially superseded human intelligence.
Okay.
When AGI? Good question. Let me think about this in terms of time.
After you tell the answer, I'll tell you some of the answers from my panel session too.
So I think by the nature of exponential growth, us as humans are famously bad at trying to understand exponential growth. So I have a feeling whatever I say, it's probably going to be shorter than that. My initial thought was 2030, but that's too boring. I'm going to go with before the end of 2028. I think by the time the United States is in another election cycle, the AGI will have been tapped, like we will have tapped into actual AGI, and the political cycle here is just going to be even more of a mess than it usually is, because now you're going to have that interjected into everything else. So I'm going to say by December 31st, 2028 is my guess.
Okay. 3 years, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Okay. When I asked the panelists at one session, I had a spread from 50 years
Oh,
more
wow.
to 18 months.
Okay.
And in between some things. So like, it is an interesting thing, but I somewhat agree with you, like the 3 to 4 years before 2030. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think by 2050, or 50 years, we better have invented it, because I think we will definitely blow ourselves up if we haven't. I think that, like, you know, I've ever heard Elon talk about like the various potential outcomes of AGI. One of them is everyone always talks about how it could be the thing that destroys humanity. Not as many people talk about how it could be the thing that saves humanity. And it could be the thing that really is like, hey, stop being dumb, like stop doing these things, you're gonna blow yourselves up, or however you want to describe it. So hopefully not 50 years, but I think it'll be much sooner than that. I would be shocked if it was any more than a decade. I think that would be very shocking to me.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. Good.
Oh, of course. Well, no, thank you again for jumping on, Rene. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Okay, thank you.
I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
You're listening to Brain Power.